Hi, my name's Chris Norman and I'm a Collaboration Technical Solutions Architect at Cisco Systems. And for the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to be covering some of the technology we have available in our video endpoints that can help customers get safely back into the workplace. So sit back, relax, grab a coffee, and we'll get kicked off with digital signage. Thanks for watching. Okay, so the first technology or the first feature we're going to run through today is working with digital signage. So digital signage can be great for informing users of protocols and other things going on in your environment. Maybe there's some security that you would like, some security information you would like to disseminate to people. In this case, it happens to be World Health Organization guidelines around COVID and keeping safe in the workplace. But whatever it is, we can control exactly how digital signage display the users when they walk into the conference room and what wakes the endpoint to break out of the digital signage cycle. So there's a couple of different ways. The first one is if someone walks into the conference room, and what you see here on my screen, what I'm sharing right now, is actually on-screen display for a Webex Room Kit. So I'm going to use my little assistant here as my user that's going to walk into the conference room and take this out of its current digital signage state, or half awake state as we call it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put her in the conference room right now, and you'll see it come out of digital signage. And so there it breaks out of digital signage. So having someone walk in the conference room, take it out of digital signage, it may not be the ideal way you want your endpoint to perform. Just because the moment someone walks in there, they're not going to see what digital signage was turned on, right? And if you think it's important enough, you may want something else to actually break it out of that half awake state, whether it's someone touching a touch panel or using the Webex Assistant. So now if I put my endpoint back into half awake state, and I have a little tool there that I'm using just to put it back into half awake state, and you'll see it go back. You'll see the app-based digital signage start up. All right, so we have our digital signage back up. And this time, I'm actually going to use the Webex Assistant to help me get it out of that half awake state. So, okay, Webex, what can you do? So, as you saw, there are multiple ways that I can get it out of the half awake state and digital signage. Depending on it, how important the information is, what you want people to see when they walk in the room, we can control it during the day and by the hour. So if, for instance, you have some really busy hours during the day, you want digital signage to be more prominent, we can use a macro to actually control when and how digital signage is displayed. So as I mentioned in the last segment on digital signage, the Webex Assistant can be used to not only help you get out of the half awake state, obviously, when you come in and you give the keywords, but it can also be used to join meetings, help control the device, as well as there's a help menu. And then further down the road, we're actually adding skills so that you can control macros running on the devices, being able to develop your own custom skills. So, but let's kick off this meeting using the Webex Assistant, and we get a sense of, what it can do. Okay, Webex, join meeting. So the Webex Assistant got us kicked off. I didn't touch any touch controller or anything. And for this, we're just going to say we're not the host. So once you're in the meeting and everything's going, you want to end the meeting. Okay, Webex, leave meeting. So if a user walks in, doesn't know exactly what the Webex Assistant can do, there is a help menu, and that's pretty simple. Okay, Webex, what can you do?
Webex Assistant. I'm here to...
Okay, so this is a pretty simple help menu. Today we don't have custom skills available yet, but that's coming. So you'll be able to start meetings, control the device. There are some general type things like, okay, Webex, what time is it?
It's 16:56.
On to the next section. One of the really cool things we can do is count the number of people in the room. So with COVID guidelines in place right now and restricting the number of people that can gather in a single location, this can be really helpful because we can give pointers to people when the capacity of the room's been exceeded, and then ensure the workplace safety. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have my assistant hop into the room, and then you'll see me pop out of the screen for a bit, and you'll see the capacity alert come up. Alright, so we saw two really interesting things there. The first one was a room cleaning alert, and then the second one was the room capacity limit reached. And so the first one, because we're tracking how many people come and go out of the room, we're able to keep a track of when the room was last used, and so then we can also know when it was last cleaned. And then the second alert, which is still on the screen now, is the room capacity limit reached. And so the capacity of my room kit is set to 1. So when I put my assistant in the room, she set the counter to 1, and then when my face entered the room, it set it to 2, and we went over capacity, and we gave her an on-screen alert. And then there's also a alert that is displayed on the touch panel. So for the room cleaning though, what we can do is we can actually reset the room cleaning so that if you've got a ServiceNow ticket or something open because the room hasn't been cleaned in a while, the cleaners come into the room, they can come in, use a pin to submit that they've actually cleaned the room, and then we'll get an alert on the screen once that's been completed. Right, so I've reset the counter now, and as people enter, come and go from the room, you'll see this update in later on. Okay, so for this next demonstration, I'm going to do something really fun, and that is we're going to talk a little bit about face detection. So what you can see right now is I'm in front of a Deskpro, and like the other Webex devices, the Deskpro has face detection capabilities. And so we're gonna do a couple of things. We're gonna have my assistant come in, and then you're gonna, obviously you can see right now it's tracking my face, and it does this for a number of things. But the one thing we're interested in is actually people count. And so if we enable people count, then we can do things like check the amount of people versus capacity. We can check when people enter and leave the room, when the room empties out, and then we can decide whether the room needs to be cleaned or not. So there's a lot of cool things we can do with this capability besides just speaker track, right? So typically when people think of the face detection, they think of the speaker track capabilities of the Deskpro and some of the other devices. So, but what we're going to do here is we're going to add in my assistant, who you would have seen in my other video, in the other start of the videos. So I'm just going to add her in, and so you can see now that we have Karen's being detected as well. So if I take Karen out, and now the real thing is with COVID and the face mask mandates is, how do we detect someone that walks in a conference room with a face mask, because a large majority of their face is now covered. So I'll pop on my face mask here, and you can see that the speaker track's still detecting my face, even though I've got a face mask on, and my glasses are being fogged up right now. So, but you can see I still got a face mask on. People count is actually detecting some of the faces on my sweater. But yeah, you can see people count now is going back to 1, even though I've got a face mask on. And then I'll put Karen back in the picture and we pop back up to 2. So you can see the people count there above my head over here. So that's face mask detection. I'm just going to focus on proximity. And a lot of you are probably already familiar with proximity and what proximity does. So I just wanted to run over it again. You might have seen it in the Webex Meetings app, or in the standalone proximity app, or in Jabber. So I'm actually going to talk about it within the Webex app. And so what we can see here is I have the Webex app open and I'm actually paired to a Deskpro in my office. So as you can see, there's some controls here. I can change the volume, I can disconnect from the device. Let's have a quick look at screen share. So from here, I can do a local share to a device, and share my screen or an application, but I can also optimize for different media types. So if I wanted to, say, share a YouTube video, I can optimize for that and have a higher frame rate. And then also, I can share computer audio. So if I wanted to actually stream the audio to the device in the room, I could do that as well. So not only that, we can also control the device and start a meeting. So for instance, if I wanted to launch into a Webex, now using proximity, I can actually start the meeting just by clicking on the notification in the app and clicking start meeting, and that'll actually launch the Webex on my device without needing to touch anything. So with local sharing, or wireless sharing, we are able to remove the HDMI from the conference room, and then with the ability to launch a meeting and or a call, we can now do things like limit the amount that people are touching, touch 10 devices or the navigator in the room. So proximity is a really great feature for helping provide that touchless workspace. So last October, Cisco acquired a company called Babel Labs. Since then, we have integrated Babel Labs noise suppression into all our devices and the Webex app. So I thought I'd give a bit of a demo here with some cafe background noise and some street noise to give you the experience of what it normally would be like if I were to be in a cafe on the Webex app, maybe taking part in a meeting. It's a lot of background noise, and it is very hard to take part in a meeting with so much background noise happening. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to turn noise suppression on. And so now you should be able to hear me a lot more clearer, and all the background noise pretty much is going to be non-existent. So this removes noise for any language. So it doesn't matter if you're speaking a different language other than English, I'll still remove noise. Right now, I'm actually on a Deskpro, and I'm using the USB capabilities into a Mac Pro, so that not only do you get it if you're in a call on the Deskpro, but also if you're using it as a USB pass-through device. So for instance, if I'm running a different application, like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and I'm using the Deskpro as a USB audio and video device, I also get the benefits of Babel Labs. So it's not just limited to the Webex app itself. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to turn off the noise suppression, the noise removal, and what you'll notice is the noise is now gone. That's because my Alexa actually stopped playing the noise. So that gives you some idea of how much noise was actually being generated in the background. So that's Babel Labs. A quick demonstration of a third-party integration using ServiceNow with one of our endpoints running a macro. So in this case, we have the report button on our touch 10, and although this isn't a live touch 10, this is kind of going to be a screenshot of it. We're going to run through the screenshots, and then I'm going to show you the end result actually in the ServiceNow portal of the ticket that was created directly from the endpoint. So in this case, I'm using a touch 10 to activate and push a ticket into ServiceNow, but this could be automated based on different variables set by the endpoint. It could even be you need the room cleaned. That could be automatically set based on the previous macros we've demonstrated. And so I'll just run through this now, and I'll simulate what the touch 10 did, and then we can see the ticket in ServiceNow. So in this case, I would click on the report button, which would take me through a series of screens. The first screen here is what sort of problem would I like to report, and in this case I'm gonna select technical issues with audio and video. So we're assuming we had like a bad video experience. Our call was interrupted for some reason. We can select video was bad, and then go to the next screen, and then this produces our ServiceNow ticket. So the endpoint has taken the data I inputted and then has sent a direct post to the ServiceNow API, and from there we can actually go into our ServiceNow portal. And so I'll reduce that, and you can see our ServiceNow portal, and this is the ticket right here, ticket 10021, and we can enter this ticket, and we can see all the data that was collected. So obviously this is a development portal, so not everything is filled out here. But the main thing I want to point out is we were able to actually drag information directly from the endpoint at the time of the ticket creation. So that's pretty vital, because as a person that has to open the ticket now, I don't have to go reach out to the user and say what time was the call at, who did you call, those types of things. That can be immediately pushed into the ticket at time of creation, since it's coming directly from the endpoint itself. So in this case, we can see that I called into my Webex meeting. I can also see some stats around packet loss. I can see the jitter and maximum packet loss for audio. So there's a lot of details here. I won't go through every single one, but we get the start times and stop times, those types of things. So a lot of details we can get directly from the endpoint. We don't have to talk to the end user to get this detail. It's already here in the ticket, which helps us get off to a great start. For our final demonstration here, and this is going to be for Control Hub and some of the newer features we're doing around devices and some of the real-time metrics we're driving from devices. Not just people count, but also some of the more environmental stats we can now pull from things like the Webex Room Kit and also the Webex Room Navigator. So I'm in Control Hub, and you can see I'm actually in Workspaces. So let's go have a look now at a Webex Room Kit that actually has a navigator associated with it. So this particular device here, and you can see over here we have some real-time utilization metrics. You can see the device is actually in an idle state. It's currently not occupied. It can't see me. I'm actually hidden behind another device, so it actually can't see me right now. And you can also see the amount of occupants here. But more interestingly, and this is something that's newer inside of Control Hub, is we have the real-time environmental metrics. So if I now click on the details surrounding this, we can see a number of different metrics, along with utilization metrics, which is new also. So we can actually see occupancy metrics, so how often there was people in the room, those types of things, what utilization we're driving from the rooms. And we can also see the amount of time the room was occupied or in use. So what's really interesting here though is some of these environmental metrics and exactly what's happening in the environment as far as ambient noise and temperature and humidity. So as you can see with ambient noise, this is actually coming from the Webex Room Kit, and the microphone on the Webex Room Kit's picking up this noise, and so we can see whether there's like a noisy air conditioning unit, anything else that's happening. Obviously this is in my office, and so during the day, the daylight hours, you can see that the ambient noise really picks up during the day, and then at nighttime it climbs down again, which for a number of different reasons. I have dogs in my room, I'm here, I'm talking all the time, so yeah, there's a number of reasons why this suddenly jumps up during the day. But if we look at the temperature, we can also see something very similar, where the average temperature or the minimum temperature drops right down at nighttime as the air conditioning in my house or my heater in my house actually drops during the day. We're in the middle of winter right now, and so at nighttime the heat is actually turned down in my house, and so you can actually see the hours where I drop the heat, and then in the morning when I enter the office and everything's turned on, you can see the actual temperature rises by roughly around 3 degrees, 4 degrees. So, but this is driven from the Webex Room Navigator and not the Room Kit. So it's kind of different, which is interesting because if you're using navigators outside of your conference rooms, you can also pick up some of these environmentals in the hallways, those types of things. And then in the conference room, we can start to see temperature, the humidity. And so these things are also important. CDC has guidelines around, what is the optimal temperature that COVID will spread, or the optimum humidity that you would expect. And so facilities may find these stats interesting as far as trying to control the environment better to limit the spread of things like COVID or the flu even. So anyway, this is the last segment of our journey here today. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you've seen a few of my different sweaters and possibly heard a dog barking or two. But thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the demonstrations. Bye for now.